I'm Mark Johnson, and I've been asked to MC today's meeting. I'd like to recognize some special guests that we have here. You're all special, and I can't recognize you all, but I'm going to recognize just a few. We'd like to recognize Mayor Mike Caldwell, Mayor of Ogden City. We'd like to recognize Chairman Richard Hyer, who is Chair of the Ogden City Council, Councilmember Stevens, and Councilmember White, who are all three here. We're appreciative of their support and their being able to be here with us today. We're pleased to have Henrie, who is Deputy Director and Chief Operating Officer of GOED. We're grateful to have her. She's 30 days into the job, her first trip to Ogden, so make sure you treat her really good. We're going to become her favorite, I think, when all's said and done. We're also delighted to have Sheri Ellis, who is owner of Certus Environmental Solutions. She's been very helpful as we have been able to put this together. I was given a program to announce by Brandon Cooper. Many of you know Brandon. Brandon's had great energy about this project. He's done a magnificent job giving it the defibrillator on several occasions to keep it going. This morning he said sometimes he's used that on himself. And I'm going to surprise him because I'm going to let him be our first speaker. I'd like to invite him to come up and just say a few words because I think Brandon's been wonderful at putting this together. Following Brandon, we will hear from Henrie, who I said once again is from GOED. And then we'll hear remarks from our chair of our city council, Chairman Hyer. And then we'll hear from Sheri Ellis. And then we'll hear from our good mayor, and then we'll have photographs and food, and we'll have the groundbreaking over here, and there will be tours of this great facility. So we hope you'll go through and enjoy that tour. So Brandon, you're first on.
Well, that is a surprise, but it's also a great honor. I represent a whole lot of folks who have put a lot of time and energy and love into this project. It represents more than just me and really just this building. Although this building is the manifestation of what the Union stockyards were and what we hope they will become again in the reimagining of the Ogden Business Exchange. In 2006, a man by the name of Joel Kotkin wrote a book called The City, A Glimpse of History, I think is the name. And in that book, he describes three things that make a great city. A great city should be safe, a great city should be busy, and a great city should be sacred. And the sacred part is what I think this project represents. Not in a religious way, but in a historical way. I've had the honor of spending some time here with a few people that have actually grown up inside of these walls and working in this stockyard and making a living here. And it's an amazing emotional experience to walk these halls with them and to see the amount of impact that this project, or this location and this building has had on them. In 1949, I believe, and Sheri's going to correct me most likely when she gives her comments, $82 million was the stockyard's peak year. That's about a $1.4 billion equivalent of today's money. So this location here represented an enormous economic engine for Ogden City, and we hope to bring that back. Our goal here, as we introduce this project to all of you and envision what it can become, our goal is to do a couple of things. To reintroduce jobs in this location. This building and this site has been derelict for decades, and so we hope to reintroduce lots of people, lots of industry, and lots of jobs. And we also hope to preserve the history by making this building kind of the cornerstone of the rest of what's going to happen behind it. I think that it'll stand proud and be the representation of what used to be, but also the promise of what's to come. So I appreciate everybody's support. I'm going to make just a plug for some money. This building is old, and with the Weber Heritage Foundation and the Landmarks Commission and a whole bunch of other great partners, we hope to raise as much money as we can for the preservation of this building specifically, not necessarily the project in the back, but this building for all of its beauty and for all of the architecture that it has. We hope to preserve it, and we're going to need a lot of community help. It's not a market feasible endeavor, and so as much love and effort and money and support as we can get is going to be helpful. Save the Exchange is the website. It's not operating yet, but it soon will be, so if you're interested in doing that, you can call our office or go to that website, and that's my shameless plug for the support of this building. So thank you very much for coming and for all of your support.
We appreciate all of your attendance at this. This is no small endeavor. We appreciate those who have worked so tirelessly. Brandon, not the least of those who have put so much energy into this. On the city council over the last few years, as this would come up and then something would happen, and we would think it was gone again, and then it would come again, and because of efforts of many people. But we find ourselves today at the groundbreaking of a wonderful thing. If we could kind of go back in time about 97 years, you would see this place completely differently. It would be filled with sheep and cattle and hogs and lots of people bustling and exchanging and brokering. And because of a law that happened several years earlier than that, every 36 hours, if you had livestock on the train, they had to be out. They had to be out for 4 hours to be watered and fed and ready to go again. That just couldn't happen in the rail yard. So this place, the exchange or the stockyards, came to be. Went great guns for several decades, and as it has been, as the mayor likes to say, in no small part because of this, Ogden had the most millionaires per capita of anywhere in the United States. This was just the place to be. However, because of things that happened over time, brokering happened differently, growers sold directly to meatpacking places, it kind of dwindled in popularity. And so that's where we find ourselves today with a facility that's been ignored for the last decade or so, and so there was a vision to bring this back to life and to bring some vitality to this part of the town, to bring jobs. And so this is a lifestyle park that you're going to have. It's gonna be an amenity for all of the citizens as well as those who work here. There'll be an 18-foot wide pedestrian and bike path that will circumnavigate through here, that will be an amenity for people. The Weber River is scheduled to be rehabilitated, much like the Ogden River, and so that it will be an amenity for the citizens to come here also. We're looking forward to these great things. It's a wonderful thing to be here today, to have this finally come together, and we look forward to the things that will happen here in the future. I'd maybe like to give another clap for Brandon, because he's done so much. And thank you.
First, I want to say thank you for the opportunity to participate in such an exciting and amazing day for the Ogden and the state of Utah. We are here to celebrate and recognize and honor the historic economic development foundation created here in 1917 with the Ogden Union Stockyards, and celebrate the bright future of Ogden as one of the top business communities in the nation. The new Ogden Business Exchange will play a great part in further enhancing that reputation. Utah has been recognized by many national leaders as one of the top places for businesses in the country. We have the second fastest growing economy, the second lowest unemployment rate in the nation, and the fourth most diverse economy in the state. We are the envy of the states surrounding us. They look to Utah as the benchmark for economic development and how to do it right. And Ogden has been a critical part in achieving these Utah milestones. You gotta love outside. Ogden has been recognized as number 11 in the country for business and careers, and ranked in the top 20 nationally for economic performance. But these rankings and accolades don't happen by accident. They are the result of a long-standing collaborative relationship between Ogden, EDC Utah, and the Governor's Office of Economic Development. We have partnered to bring amazing top-name brands and companies to the Ogden area, creating high-paying jobs and bringing millions of dollars in capital assets to the community. Some of these companies include Barnes Aerospace, U.S. Food Service, Levalor, Hershey, Great Salt Lake Minerals, and Fresenius. Additionally, Ogden is known for its support of the industry sector related to outdoor products. Companies including Quality Bicycles, Envy Composites, Amir Sports, Climate, TRP Brakes, Good Skis, Icon Health and Fitness, and Kahuna Creation all call Ogden home. GOED continues to also support the ongoing efforts of Mayor Caldwell with the Taiwanese bike manufacturers as well. Ogden has demonstrated an outstanding commitment to the outdoor products industry, created a workforce that understands composites and advanced manufacturing, and developed an amazing plan for the new Ogden Business Exchange that will further enhance and the reason why Ogden creates such a great value for the state and a great quality of life for its residents. I bring the thanks of the Governor and the other residents of the state of Utah to all of those who have made the Ogden Business Exchange a vibrant reality. Thank you.
I'm really honored to be here today. The site here, the Ogden Union Stockyard, holds a special place in my heart because it plays into some of the earliest memories that I have as a kid moving to Utah from Southern California. And I was a young teen. We had just moved from the urban jungle of the San Diego area. The only livestock encounters I had ever had were at petting zoos. Somehow I managed to win the goat tying competition at the Little Buckaroo Rodeo that was held just a few feet away in the old Coliseum. So miracles can happen. As I stand here today, I think that it would be so easy to drive past this site and not truly comprehend its history and the magnitude of the impact that it had on Ogden economically and on its identity. So it's entirely fitting and appropriate that we take a minute as we celebrate the future of this site to look back at what its history was. So we're going to talk for just a few minutes about the origins of the site and how it evolved over time. The Ogden Union Stockyard started out as just a few stock pens near the Weber River, so just over here, basically under the viaduct. But it rapidly grew into a sprawling complex of corrals, specialized barns, auction arenas, and the headquarters of the Ogden Livestock Exchange. By the late 1920s, the yard had become the largest stockyard operation west of Denver. So think about that. How big that must have been, because Denver was a pretty big stockyard town. Several hundred thousands of animals made their way through the facility each year. The impetus for the establishment of the yards came from members of the local meatpacking industry, specifically a group of area businessmen, the majority of whom were officers in the Ogden Packing and Provision Company, which was the meatpacking plant, incorporated the stockyards on July 29, 1916, so nearly 100 years ago. The establishment had, among its initial incorporators, W.H. Wattis, Fred J. Kiesel, S.S. Jensen, James Pingree, Lars Hansen, and Lester P. Whitlock. Many of these family names are certainly still common and active in the Ogden community today, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's somebody out there today that is part of one of these families. The meatpacking plant, which most of you may now know as the Swift plant, so that's over here by the viaduct, was initially completed in 1906 and included a small stockyard just to the south of it. This was where local ranchers could bring their livestock and trade and sell them, and from which the meatpacking company purchased animals for slaughter. By 1917, when the Ogden Union Stockyard officially opened, the Ogden Packing and Provision Company was reportedly the largest meatpacking plant west of the Missouri River. The capacity of the plant at the time was enormous, certainly much more than local ranchers could supply, through the small stockyard located on the plant grounds. This resulted in the company leading the way to establish the Ogden Union Stockyards on this side of the river. Contracts for the construction of the first part of the new stockyards were let in late October 1916 to James Stewart and Company, a St. Louis-based firm. who was also working on an expansion of the meatpacking plant at the same time. The initial contract was for $50,000, and the overall concept of the yard was modeled on the famous Union Stockyards of Chicago, which combined animal transport, sales, and meatpacking all within a massive complex of pens, railways, and buildings. Within a few days, the grounds of the 70-acre stockyard were graded, and concrete floors for buildings and pens were poured. The paving, along with an elaborate sewer and drain system and piped water system, were the most modern of touches to ensure that sanitation of the yard, and it catapulted the Ogden Yards into the limelight as the future of the nation's livestock industry. The first phase of the stockyards opened in April 1917, and within a few months they had become a bustling center of a burgeoning livestock industry. Ultimately, 7 rail lines converged at the stockyards and packing plant, and trainloads of cattle, sheep, hogs, and horses were arriving every day to be placed on the Ogden market. In 1919, the annual Golden Spike National Livestock Show, sometimes referred to as the Livestock Exhibition, was established. The show not only increased the number of livestock making their way through the stockyards, but also served as a showcase for local livestock rearing techniques, as well as agricultural experiments by the Utah State University Agricultural Program. The show was a rousing success, with trainloads of animals being brought in from the western U.S. to compete for awards. An auction was added to the show almost immediately. In 1920, the stockyards were reportedly handling up to 10,000 head of livestock each day, and annual sales were soon pushing the $100 million mark, as Brandon mentioned, in the best of the years. 6 livestock commission firms operate out of the yards to broker the sales. By 1922, the Ogden Yards had become one of the largest western markets for cattle, hogs, and sheep, necessitating the construction of a new $30,000 exchange building to house the yard administrators and commission firms operating here. And this was the predecessor of the current building that we're standing by today. And it was located a little bit further to the west. It's no longer there, but was a little bit further to the west and to the north. In 1926, at a cost of $100,000, the Grand Golden Spike Coliseum, designed by noted Utah architect Leslie Hodgson, was constructed. And it was located over here, basically where the new development is. It housed an auction arena, dance floor, conference room, offices, and a restaurant. The construction of the facility, which reportedly took only 45 days, was necessitated by the success of the annual livestock show. So the new construction of the Coliseum was necessitated by the number of visitors and the magnitude of the show that was occurring there. Funding for the new building came in part through the monies given to the cause by the Ogden Chamber of Commerce and the Weber County Commission, who recognized the important role the stockyards played in bolstering the local economy and raising Ogden's profile across the nation. In 1930, the rail and loading chute network was expanded to accommodate daily activity of 200 carloads of cattle, these are trainloads of cattle, 250 carloads of sheep, 150 carloads of hogs, and 100 truckloads of other livestock. And the sheep barn, the remnants of which are not much, but are still on the property further to the north behind the building here, was also constructed. And it was also designed by Leslie Hodgson. The double-decker loading chutes along the north perimeter of the yard and following the former rail lines were constructed around this time and allowed for increased loading and offloading efficiency. And it is my understanding, if you get a chance to walk out on the site, first be very, very careful, because you will trip over many things out there, but the loading chutes are still standing out along the perimeter, which gives you a good indication of where the trains would come in, and those are going to be, at least some of them, retained as part of landscape features for this site as it is developed. The following year, 1931, the showpiece Art Deco style exchange building was completed, and the stockyard itself expanded to 75 acres, encompassing 30 acres of pens, barns, railroad switches, and 45 acres of buildings, parking, weigh scales, and other facilities. Despite the rousing success of the yard over its first 15 years, the years of the Great Depression were challenging for the stockyard, which saw an 86% decrease in the number of livestock passing through the facility between 1930 and 33 alone. The operations struggled through the ensuing years until the market returned to greater than pre-Depression levels during World War II. In 1947, another expansion effort resulted in the construction of 80 new sheep pens. The final round of known improvements at the stockyard occurred in 1954 and made the Ogden Stockyards the single largest livestock facility west of Denver. Shortly after the final expansion effort, the stockyard operation began a slow but inevitable decline toward obsolescence. Advancements in long-haul trucking minimized the need for centralized stockyards at a regional level. By the mid-1960s, the Ogden Union stockyards were relegated to local use, which proved insufficient to sustain the vast complex. Commission agents operating out of the yard officially closed their doors in December 1967. The Ogden Livestock Show and Auction continued for a few years, but with only a fraction of the attendees it had once known. The stockyard was officially closed on January 31st, 1971. In the years that followed, the facility was used for small local livestock shows, the Little Buckaroo Rodeo, and other local events. Many of you may still remember taking a spin, or maybe it was a spill, on the ice rink that stood on the grounds and continued to operate into the 1980s. Eventually, modern facilities built elsewhere all but eliminated interest in using the decades-old stockyard. So today, as these grounds that meant so much to the identity and economy of Ogden for the better part of a century stand ready to play their role in the next great chapter of the city's history. The features of the yard that will remain will lend their hard-won character to the new business exchange and will no doubt elicit fond memories from those of us fortunate enough to have shared a part of the history of these storied grounds. Thank you.
You've shown incredible tenacity and vision to get us to this point. It's extremely important. I think this is a watershed moment for us. These great things happen because we have an amazing team that all work together and find ways to do that, and GOED's been a big part of that for us. I also want to thank all of you in attendance that are here. When these projects come up, it's amazing the amount of community support that comes to these. We cannot do these in isolation, and one of the things that I continually hear on the state level and from other places is that the amount of community support you guys have for these things in Ogden is astounding. How do you do that? What's the secret sauce? What's the elixir to get everybody out and to be champions of this community and what's happening? And it's really you all that come to these and support these and get involved. This is not stuff that we can do on our own. Without the community embracing this and celebrating these types of projects, they simply would not happen. So give yourselves a round of applause, and let's thank the sense of community that we have to pull some of these things together. That national recognition is because of the sense of community, not because of any 1, 2, or 3 economic development projects or anything. That nothing happens in the vacuum. So you all need to be given a tremendous amount of credit for supporting these and getting involved in the community. Thank you for that. 30 years ago, 35 of the 43 buildings on historic 25th Street downtown sat vacant, and it was one of the scariest places in the entire state. 2 months ago, we were recognized as one of the 10 best streets in America, and I have the same type of expectation for what we can do here. The history we have in this community, when we're able to harness that, is really a springboard into phenomenal things in the future. Nobody can duplicate what came through here and what we have in terms of Ogden's history, and Chair Hyer mentioned more millionaires per capita at the turn of the century than any other city in the United States. That's phenomenally unique, and when we can hold on to some of these things and use those as springboards to get us into unique places, we can create projects that nobody else can duplicate. I think this is a great representation of that. I'm thrilled to be here today. I think the real star of this entire show and why you're here is this building, so I'll sit down and get out of the way, having given my thanks. But again, thank you all to the community. Thank you all that have worked on this, and we really look forward to phenomenally unique things happening on this site. I think it was interesting, almost 4 decades ago this closed and has been abandoned, and it's coming back to life, and it's going to come back to life in a really, really unique way. And like we were recognized as one of the top 10 streets in America, I see us being recognized with this development and the vision that's gone into this as being one of the nation's most unique lifestyle-oriented business parks and clusters. So thank you all for being here. Enjoy your tours. Grab us if you have any questions, and again, thank you everybody for your support. This lifestyle park we're going to create here will be oriented towards more outdoor recreation companies. We have over 2,000 employees. That's a really robust cluster we have. They're going to have an opportunity to exchange ideas, be a part of a really unique environment. It's right next to the Weaver River, our trail system. It connects to the mountains. Everything we're doing here is going to be represented in this park. So it's a phenomenal opportunity for us, and as you can see, there's a tremendous amount of excitement about it. Ready? Here we go.
This one, if you push forward, it lowers the boom.
Okay.
If you pull it towards you, it raises the boom. Inside is curl, outside is dump.
Yay!
Don't go this way.
Yes. And don't hurt people.
Now, is there an up and a down?
What's that?
Is there an up and a down?
We have rules.
Up, down, and over, and